Greetings everybody. Welcome to GBOriginal Cre8ors. I'm your host, Prince Obioha, Ezeagu Ndi-GBO. Today's pretty much a nice overcast day, and I felt that it would be great to share some important information that I feel would be useful to all of you who are watching at this moment. A lot of you have been following me on some of my other social media channels like Facebook, where I share a lot of my writings, because in addition to running my business, I happen to be a writer and a poet. Now, for those of you who are new, regardless of which category you fall into, I just want you all to know that my mission in life is to use the various mediums that I have access to, whether it be my business or my writings or my day-to-day life, essentially, or vlogs like this, to help my people discover, embrace, and capitalize, or rather build upon, the core essence of their being. This is really what I stand for. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is something very important, and it's been bothering me a lot recently, because with all the problems or with all the things that are going on around us today, it's become evident that we need to really sit back and look at what really is the root cause of the multiplicity of issues that we're confronted with as a people today. Specifically, I'm talking about marriage and love, but before we even delve into that, we have to understand how society is structured. Now, the basis of society is obviously the individual. Individuals come together to make families, and families get together to make communities, and so on. Now, if the individual is unbalanced, then obviously the family is going to be unbalanced, and by default the community as well. What does this imply? It implies that for any lasting change or improvements to be made on the general situation of things as we see them, we're going to have to address the problem beginning from the root, and that root is the individual. Now, unfortunately, society is structured in such a way that we tend to want to fix problems from the outside inwards instead of tackling it from the root. And the problem with this mode of approach is that it's kind of like treating the symptoms of a disease instead of what's actually causing disease from the inside. Now, it's just the way people have been programmed, it's the way people have been taught to view things, and obviously with the way things are, it's clear that that mode of approach is not working. We've got to try the other way, which is from the root. If you can heal whatever is causing a disease from within, then definitely it's going to naturally, whatever ailment is naturally going to just fizzle out the way it came. This is how nature works, and all the great accomplishments of humanity have been derived from observing nature and the way things operate in nature. So I think that it makes sense that we should apply the same formula in addressing the problems of humanity and social structures. With the issue of marriage, now, marriage is that seminal institution that was intended to provide a sane framework in which we can perpetuate humanity. Now, that's basically what marriage is all about. But the problem here is people have seemed to lost the script, and they're approaching marriage with a very dysfunctional mindset. What is that dysfunctional mindset? It's like we've been taught to view marriage as or to approach marriage with the sense that we have to be glued to our partner. And the situation is made worse by the patriarchal mindset of most communities, of most nations today, where women are viewed as property of men, or as trophies to be seen and not heard. This mindset still pervades in so many communities across the world, and this affects marriage because with women being seen not as co-builders of the home, but rather as servants or glorified servants, if I would say that, it doesn't make for a good foundation, to experience love, cooperation, and mutual respect. So this mindset is dysfunctional. That's why I'd say it's dysfunctional, because unless we can change that mindset and understand and appreciate that the masculine and feminine principles exist in balance throughout nature, and if we cannot replicate that balance within our homes, then we're just setting ourselves up for problems. Now, I speak as someone who's fortunately had at least 5 years of experience so far in marriage, so I speak from experience and also from observing the marriages of other couples and the challenges that they face. So it's based on all these observations and my personal experience that I'm actually speaking here. Like I said before, when we observe nature, we find that nature holds the answers or the solutions to a lot of the problems that seem insurmountable, that confront us as human beings. Now, take for example the relationship between water and land, or let me call it the marriage between water and land, because they both coexist side by side, and yet they maintain their unique qualities. There's that balance between, if you've ever been to the beach or the riverside and you see that interplay between water and land, you'll understand what I'm trying to communicate to you right now. And what is that? Land, in this sense, represents the masculine principle. Land is solid, it's rock steady, it's ruggedly reassuring. It's there. It provides that sure foundation that you can rely on. Water, on the other hand, represents the feminine principle, in that it is soothing, it's cleansing, it's healing, it's nourishing. Water is also volatile, and constantly in motion. So there's that, kind of opposites that you get between land and water, and yet they exist, or they coexist in this marriage. Land provides a kind of refuge that water can always rely on or fall back on, when she returns from her many distant travels, even to other lands, and in return, water brings to land the countless treasures that she washes up from the distant corners of the earth. She washes them upon the shores of land. Now, this simple illustration I just painted for you gives you, if you analyze it introspectively, you understand that if this interplay was replicated in our marriages, it would provide for a very wholesome environment, in which both the male and the female, the man and the woman, would feel not encaged, not stifled, but actually able to express the full extent of their divine attributes. We need to look deeply into this matter, because what you find is that in most marriages, women who, like I mentioned, are the water principle, find themselves caged, and we all know that when you enclose water in a container and leave it there against its will, it becomes stagnant because it's no longer in motion. There's no way for it to refresh itself, and that stagnation robs it of its creative powers. And we all know that the woman is, she is the creatress. She has that creative principle, and if she loses her powers, then how do you expect there to be balance in that union? Because it takes two to tango. And for the union to be fruitful in every sense of the word, then both halves, both parties have to be at their fullest every step of the way. These are the things I want us to really look into. And another important point that I think we have to bear in mind when it comes to human relations in general, but still narrowing it down to the marriage and the home, the family, is this. Now, speaking first from the point of the individual. Now, for those of us who have taken time to really understand or study life in general, we've come to the understanding that the body that we wear, this physical body, it's not us. This is, for lack of a better expression, a spacesuit. When you watch astronauts on TV, they wear those massive spacesuits that enable them to function in that environment. It's the same thing with our physical bodies. The physical body that we wear is essentially the vessel that we need to be able to experience life in this physical plane. So with that knowledge, it automatically tells us that our body isn't us in every sense of the word. The real you is within this vessel. Now, if you know that your body is not you, that's one level. Secondly, we don't own anything in this life in the actual sense of the word. Even the wealth that we toil for, the money that we acquire through our work, at the end of the day, when our body expires, you're not going to know what's going to become of that wealth. Somebody else might inherit it, or it might just fizzle out and be taken over by someone that you haven't even met. That's just how it works. We don't own anything here. Whatever we happen to have, whatever we're blessed to acquire or accumulate, is essentially a gift. It's loaned to us for a period of time. That also applies to our relationships. The people that we come in contact with, some may come and stay for a while, some might actually accompany us on our journey through life. They may be parents, they may be our spouses, they may be children, they may be business associates and friends. It all depends on the part that each person's going to play in your life and for how long. Now, like I said, we don't own anything, and we don't own anyone either. We don't own anybody, not even our children. That's something that a lot of people are going to find hard to accept, that we don't own our children. Well, let me break it down for you. You already know that the body you're wearing is not you. You're the soul inside, right? Now, the children, the product of your union with your wife, or your husband, everyone thinks that they're yours, right? But look at it this way. Yes, if you're a man, your sperm and the ovum of your wife have come together, they combined physically or biologically to form the foundation or the building blocks for what? The vessel, the physical body that's going to be inhabited by the soul of the child that has decided to join your family. So, in essence, you didn't create that soul. You only provided a vessel for it, a body for it. Where that soul came from, you don't know. Well, we all know we come from one source, yes. But in essence, what I'm trying to say is, every soul has its own distinct purpose for coming or incarnating into this realm. And the fact that a soul or a group of souls decide to come to you as your children does not give you ownership over them. The famous poet Khalil Gibran, in his book The Prophet, he said it perfectly. He said, "Children come through you, not from you." And this really sums up what I'm trying to say here, because regardless of what a DNA test says, a DNA test can only ascertain that, yes, the physical body that child is wearing is a product of you and your wife, or one of you and somebody else, you know? But the soul doesn't belong to either one of you. And it's not even a combination of your souls, you know? So we really have to look at this, because these days there's been a lot of incidents and stories, horror stories of people, men, brutalizing their wives, even killing their wives and committing suicide because they came upon a paternity test result that showed that they were not the biological father of the children in the marriage. And I think it shows how far we've fallen as a people, because our ancestors didn't place such a, you know, the records show, you know, from the histories passed down to us, they didn't place such a premium on this physical body because they had that innate understanding that this physical body is not who we are. And so people, you know, in Africa we have the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. You know, a village wasn't seen exclusively as the responsibility of the father and mother, the biological father and mother of the child. You know, so this, we need to really get rid of this idea, this attachment. You know, all the great masters, they talk about us having to detach ourselves, you know, not, you know, place our hearts so much on the physical things around us or the people around us, because this whole experience is temporary at the end of the day. So if we can detach from that physical attachment and rather focus on appreciating the relationship that exists between us and the people around us, I think that sets a wonderful precedent for building. I think that sets a wonderful precedent for building wonderful relationships, happier families, and, you know, more productive and fulfilled individuals, as well as communities. You know, we just have to look in the mirror and tell ourselves the truth on these issues, because sweeping things under the rug or trying to hide behind human man-made rules and traditions that have clearly shown to be self-destructing, it's not going to take us anywhere. We have to ask the hard questions. We have to really look at things objectively, not from an emotional standpoint, but from a point of clarity, from a standpoint of introspection, because that's the only way we're going to grow and move forward as a people. You know, you talk about unification. Unification, look at the structure of that word. It starts with you. You know, for us to unify, for us to unite and get things done, make progress as a people, it all starts with you, with the individual. So we need to, regardless of the relationship we're in, whether it's in marriage, whether it's in our workplace, you know, relating with our co-workers or subordinates or superiors, as the case may be, everyone needs to be given a chance to express their creative potential. You know, marriage should never be a bond. It should never be a cage. Rather, it should provide an oasis where each party feels safe, each party feels inspired, you know, to reach for their best in every area of their lives. Because frankly, if you don't feel safe in your marriage, if you don't feel that the environment or the partner you're with is encouraging you to really better yourself as an individual, if they are rather trying to help, you know, insist or push you into silencing parts of who you are, you know, in the name of keeping the status quo or maintaining the collective, that's not a healthy environment. It's not for anybody, not for man, not for woman. And we need to change that narrative. We need to look again at how our families are structured. because without doing that, we are not setting the right basis on which we can really build a fulfilled and progressive society or community or nation or world. I hope that this video has proved useful for you in some way, and it's my hope that if you learned something good from it, please do like it, subscribe. If you don't agree with what I've said, I still like to hear from you. Hit that dislike button, express yourself. And share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know why you disagree with what I've shared with you here. And feel free to share this video with your friends and family. Let's get a discussion though, because the only way we can grow is when we can relate with each other, when we can freely and comfortably share ideas and analyze things from every possible point of view and arrive at the most, balanced solution or win-win for everyone. I think that's how we can build strong nations and strong communities and strong families and strong individuals. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate your time and look forward to interacting with you on a deeper level. Once again, this is Prince Obioha, Ezeagu, Ndi-GBO, and this is YOUnification. Thanks, and have a lovely one.